Hello and welcome to UI Chat from the Interface, the monthly show talking about everything Ubiquiti and networking. I'm host Alex, and once again, I'm joined by Evan McCann, filling in this time for Willie Howe. Welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe I'll just be doing this every other month now. We'll see.
Yeah, it'd be quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to get your intake. It's good to get your insight on the Ubiquiti landscape, being your bloggers and that sort of thing. So it's good to get a different perspective on things. So how have you been doing? How have you been doing since we last spoke?
Good. Yeah, I just moved, if you couldn't tell by the new background here. So yeah, I've been busy with that. Just doing that and working mostly. So busy time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of stuff happening since me and Willie last recorded in early July. It's been a little while since we recorded an episode. There's been a new cable modem leaked. There's some new products. Again, there's a new UXG leaked. And we've got some new announcements and new products. So all good. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this new cable modem, which was leaked by, I think it's a ISP over in the US called Cox.com, so COX.com. And this is Ubiquiti's first modem, which is quite interesting. And this was leaked a little while ago, very early in July. It's interesting to see that Ubiquiti's doing this sort of thing. They usually leave this area of the market to other providers. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's interesting how the news got out. I'm used to the FCC documents and those kind of things being what we see leading up to a product release. And now that EA is gone, I guess we got to rely on partners leaking things like this. So it's interesting we even learned about this before it's available. And for me, the most interesting part of this device is the form factor, the fact that it's a 1U rack mount device. Since over in the UK, I don't think you guys have cable very much. You guys are lucky to have fiber and better options.
Yep.
But we have a lot of coax cable connections here. I have one at home actually. So yeah, I'm used to modems being these, small, it's almost like a USG size little device where you just plug your cable in, you get Ethernet out. The fact that it's a 1U box seems kind of wasteful. So yeah, I'll be interested to see more details when it's released and pricing and all that. But if you already have an equipment rack, it just makes sense to kind of get one more piece in there, and having Ubiquiti manage it is interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the fact that it's a 1U just keeps it all tidy. And when you get those, like like there's an edge switch model which has got rack ears extensions, they just look a bit weird. So I'd imagine this is just for that clean look.
Yeah.
So on the front we've got a little screen like we used to with the UXG, and then from that leak from the ISP, there's like all sorts of information about what things it will show you. So it looks like it will hold your hand through the whole process of plugging things in, which is good because everyone's going to be buying this sort of modem. It's not just IT guys that are going to be buying it. So the Ethernet port out is a 2.5 gig port. So what sort of maximum speed can you get from cable usually? Is it about that speed? I'm guessing that's not overkill or...
Yeah, I mean, at least in the US, gigabit connections are fairly rare, but they're almost always asymmetrical, very heavily towards download. So the plan I was just on with a different provider was, I think it was a 1200 meg down and 35 meg up. So there's a lot of those type of plans where it's a couple hundred meg down and then you get a tiny little upload pipe. But yeah, having it be 2.5 gig is nice. I am surprised that they didn't put the RPS, USP RPS, whatever the power backup.
Yeah.
If it's a rack mount piece and it's part of your core internet infrastructure, you'd think they would tie it into that. So it's interesting they don't have that on there.
Well, I did think about this when I wrote it. The UXG has that port out for a modem, so I'm guessing you can just power it off that port.
PoE power. Okay.
No, I'm thinking on the back of the UXG, you've got a port like a smart plug.
Yeah.
Like an outlet that will restart the modem if the internet drops. So I'm guessing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you would provide backup power to your gateway. The gateway would.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Yeah. That kind of solves the backup powers.
Yeah.
That way. Interesting.
And that'll reboot it if there's any problems. I'm not sure where the problem lies with having to reboot a modem usually. Is it the fact that the modem's junk, or that the ISP requires a refreshed connection? I'm not really sure what that problem lies.
Yeah, it'd probably be between your provider and your modem if your connection's offline. Usually it's on the provider side, but hopefully they've improved that. I used to use the smart plug. I believe it was just a little device where it was supposed to detect if your internet was down through your gateway. And I had that be very unreliable. So hopefully they've improved that since then.
Yeah, I remember when the UXG first launched last year. I got UXG with one WAN, and there was a bug with it. It just kept, if there was like a very small drop, it would just reboot. I could hear it clicking and rebooting the port on the back, even though it was turned off, which is really odd. So I haven't heard that for a long time. So hopefully it's fine now.
Right. They're very eager to reboot.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be quite disruptive. For people interested in the show notes, there'll be a link to the. It's still actually live. The leaked page from that ISP. You can see all the screenshots and then some information on the device. So hopefully it's going to launch sometime soon. We won't know until it does. So last year, I don't know if you remember this at the same time, Ubiquiti, when they were redoing the website, they published a load of UISP equipment coming soon, and it's taken up until very recently for it to all sort of come into fruition. And one of those was the UISP Power. So we've got two devices. We've got the UISP Power, a smaller unit, and we've got the UISP Power Pro. And for when I used to work at WISP, these sort of devices now will be like, oh, these are just exactly what you need. They look so seamless and so easy to manage. Sort of managing UPSs on the network level is very dodgy. It can be quite tricky and very expensive. And these seem quite good. So
yeah, same experience here. I used to work for WISP, and we had just because we didn't have a lot of staff that had experience with working with solar power, batteries, DC wiring. All of those things were kind of out of my experience. So something like this, being able to just buy something, drop it in, provide redundant power. It's a little shame that it's proprietary with the transport connector. That's probably the only thing I could complain about. But I think it almost kind of reminds me of like Apple's MagSafe on their MacBooks. Like it's proprietary. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than if you did it yourself, but it solves the problem. And I think a lot of people will benefit from the UISP Power and Power Pro.
Yeah, I think in keeping the transport power easy to plug in is because Ubiquiti is designed. They've designed a lot of things to make it very low friction to get set up. They want, especially in the US where there's tons of WISP, they want people just to set stuff up and get going. And as stupid as it sounds, just the notion of working out what type of core power to use and how far to run it and how to pin it out, and there's people might know how to do that, but there's also people who don't know how to do that. And the fact where you can just plug in the transport connectors with extension little ports, it's all weatherproof and it just all works. You can get things connected out quite quickly. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously, it all connects out to UISP. This smaller unit is meant for what we call micro pops, so smaller little relay stations with 1 or 2, 3 antennas. It's actually got a built-in lithium-ion battery. So there's a 115 watt-hour battery built in. It can take two power supplies, so 250 watt power supplies to the slots in the bottom. I'm guessing that's for redundant sort of power supplies. And there's also this 24 volt battery connector for a lead acid battery. So you could have a bank of 4 or 5 batteries or something in a cabinet and have batteries run the whole site. And then just all you need is one cable going up to the UISP switch in a USB box, and you've got your little micro pop set up. But this UISP Power Pro looks pretty interesting. Obviously, it's for larger sites. There's 3 transport outs, and there's also a redundant PSUs, but there's also that SIM card as an LTE modem for getting SMS alerts to your NOC essentially. So pretty good.
Yeah, that's the Pro is definitely interesting, and yeah, that cellular connection there, that's another problem that was difficult to solve for us. Having if your tower goes down and you don't have any connection to it, how do you know that? And then I think it seems like it's just an alert saying, hey, you lost power here, so that's better than nothing. But then you'll probably have to drive out there anyway. But yeah, all of those things could definitely solve a bunch of problems for WISP for sure.
So the UISP Power Pro doesn't have a battery built in, but it's got a connector for 24 volt batteries, so you could run a load in parallel. And then the LTE modem, the antenna, that could be mounted on the pole outside with extension cables it comes with, or you can just put it on the front. So I'd imagine if you had a metal cabinet, it wouldn't work quite well. But they seem to be fleshing out the UISP power stuff and the UISP router and the switch. Obviously, it's, as you've documented on your website, it's not as nowhere near as fully flushed out as Edge Max yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there
they seem to be
was
making things easy.
Yeah, there was, and I think there still is something similar to this for Edge devices. Edge Power Supply, I think, is what
Yes.
they recently renamed it to. I think it used to have a different name, but it's the EP 24 volt, and there's a couple different voltage and wattage options. But yeah, I would love.
Those are good, actually.
Yeah, they don't have quite all the features of especially the Power Pro when you talk about the LTE backup and the transport connector. Obviously they don't have. To me, yeah, the other part of this that I would be most interested in is something to replace the edge point, those outdoor switches and routers, because they do have the UISP box, the like outdoor weatherproof enclosure you can put the indoor equipment into. So I think that's maybe their solution for now, but I would love to see something meant for outdoor, maybe a few more ports, a bit more power. But yeah, UISP hardware is chugging along for sure.
Yeah, pretty good. No, it makes me miss the WISP industry a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah, you say that now, but once you're doing it every day, you might not feel the same.
I know. Yeah, it's good to sell the equipment though. Yeah, the very next thing, this was announced exactly a month ago. Well, sorry, revealed a month ago. So some people have been digging through the files of the UniFi controller. And as we know, in UniFi controller, you've got little tiny images of all the devices you got plugged in. And they've obviously found some pictures of some new devices. So we've got something called the UX, which is going to be called the UniFi Express, which makes me think it's going to be kind of like Amplify, sort of a plug-in, it's working sort of job. I guess maybe to move Amplify out of the fray. I'm not really sure why. But it's going to be for less technical folks to get UniFi up and running. And then the UXG. So the UXG Pro was announced back in 2020. We got it actually in 2022. And then everyone's been clamoring for a smaller device, cheaper device. And this looks like it's going to be it. It looks like I can't think of the word for it now. A Apple thing. I can't remember the name of it.
Airport Express or Airport?
That's the one. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks exactly like that.
Yeah. Their love affair with Apple's design continues.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So have you used the UXG devices much?
Yeah, I've definitely helped people out with the UXG Pro. It's nice that they have that option still if you want to host your own controller or et cetera, et cetera. If you just want to have just a gateway that does nothing else for you. But yeah, the fact that it took so long from when they announced it to when it was released, and the fact that it's their naming scheme is you have Noun and then you have Noun Pro. So the fact that it was UXG Pro, it's like, where's the UXG? So I feel like we've been waiting for this for 3 years now. If it was 2020, they announced that. So it's been a long time coming, and it's nice to finally get some details, and hopefully we'll get more soon. I think the UX is almost more interesting though, because I mean we don't really know what the UXG is. I mean, it looks like Apple's airport device there, and we assume it's just going to be kind of like a just a gateway, just more of a straight up USG replacement. So it's only going to be your firewall gateway. But I think did you know if it was confirmed or at least from what's leaked, if it has a Wi-Fi built in, or was that just Bluetooth? I think I dug
through the UX. Yeah, the UX has Wi-Fi built in. They found some references to 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And then the UXG, I don't believe, has any wireless capabilities apart from Bluetooth.
Okay, so yeah, the UXG is just a straight up gateway. So bring your own access point, bring your own switch. There'll maybe be a few ports in the back or whatever, but the UX is almost just more interesting because it seems like Amplify has always been this weird little stepchild of Ubiquiti, where that's their separate brand for if you want like a home, easy to use mesh system. So I'm assuming from what we know so far, the UniFi Express is like the new products, and does that mean Amplify is going away? Is this totally separate? Is this still like, if you have a UDM, can that tie into it? Is it just like, I'm really curious about that, because it seems like a brand new thing, and we kind of know what the UXG non-pro is going to be.
Yeah, I referenced in the article. I said the UniFi brand is so strong at this stage. It makes sense for people. That's all people have heard of. Some people don't even call it Ubiquiti anymore. They just call it UniFi because the brand is so strong with it. So maybe just they've decided like, oh, the Amplify brand isn't really working. This is just speculation, but maybe the UniFi brand will be better suited to it, and also the functionality of the UniFi controller. You might have something like the UDR, where it's self-contained. I'm not really sure though. So
yeah, and yeah, I think you're right on with the branding because I think people think about UniFi more than they think about Ubiquiti. That's just like the company behind UniFi. Because UISP is it's been a long time since UISP was like or those kind of products, AirMax, SMax. That used to be what Ubiquiti was. Then UniFi came out, I think, roughly 10 years ago. And over time, I think it's like 90% of their business, just revenue wise. So now it's like, not only it's the bulk of their products, the bulk of their development, it's also what people know them for. So it's like, might as well leverage that branding and, kind of build a line within UniFi to kind of take over what Amplify used to be, which is just like the plug it in, Eero style mesh network.
Yeah, definitely. And while we're on the subject of things being 10 years, I think the USG is 10 years old at this point now. I think it's getting very close to it.
And we finally have a replacement. Maybe it's coming soon, possibly.
Maybe, hopefully. We're also going to look at UniFi Network 75172. This was announced 4 days ago, so that's probably last week. That was Friday last week. And this update looks massive. I have been using it. I've been using a combination of the beta version for a little while, but this is when it's become one. Yes, this update looks massive. I don't know if you've had time. Don't know if you've even had time to look at it yet, but
yeah, I used it a bunch. I forget the exact version number, but it was like the last or second to last beta. That was what I was using when I was updating my UniFi Network settings explained post. So yeah, I spent a lot of time with 7.5, and it was definitely a big upgrade, and definitely worthy of the moving from 7.4 to 7.5. It's that big of a release. All the few things that they added since that last beta version, like the I think it was the animated what was it? What do they call it? The animated topology.
It's a topology view.
Yeah. Like that and a few other things that kind of were added in the past few weeks. I didn't really play around with too much, but yeah, I really like 7.5 in my experience.
That's awesome. So we got a new animated topology. Sort of, if you notice your internet's slow, you can sort of very quickly dial into the UniFi and figure out what device is downloading using all the bandwidth. So if you think of it like just a pipe, as a pipes going to each device, and then they get thicker, and you can say, oh, that device is using all the bandwidth. There's a little GIF which I'll put on screen. There's also a latency test option. I'm not sure that's going to work because in my experience, some consumer devices don't respond well to ICMP. So this might give you a good result. Not really sure. Basically, you can use the UXG or the UEDM to ping a phone and see how well it's responding to ICMP, which it might be a good test. I'm not really sure. I think it's more of a little gimmick, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, not really sure about.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the list of improvements and bug fixes, it's kind of overwhelming. It's hard to pick out the big things. But, I love anything related to better logging, monitoring, anything, that, there's definitely going to be edge cases with all those things or things that, devices that won't behave well. So hopefully they keep plugging on that. But yeah, just better logs, addressing long-standing complaints that people have had with UniFi is like, I have an issue, there's an alert, I can't tell what that means. So I'm glad they're continuing to develop in that area.
Yeah. I noticed some messaging somewhere else about DNS settings. So I think something along the lines of if a DNS server is unavailable, it will use default ones.
Is that DNS Shield? Or that's probably something else.
There might be something else. I remember UI Glenn putting in the community somewhere about it, that if your own custom set DNS servers are not responding for any reason, it will fail over and use whatever Ubiquiti have decided they should use. I'm not sure how that works. Might have to come back about that in the next episode. But
yeah, that'd be something that I'd be curious about the details there, because the first thing I would think of is people that run like pie holes or anything for like ad blocking on the DNS level. If you're not getting a DNS response on purpose because you don't want that ad to load, and then UniFi's like, hey, let me help you out and load this ad for you. I'm sure that they were aware of that and tested that, and that's, they designed it with knowing that people do that. And I'm not sure exactly. I don't think they really explain what DNS Shield is. Is that it's probably either related or some sort of privacy enhancing thing there, but
it might be similar to what OpenDNS do, with like a family shield, possibly.
Yeah,
maybe it might be something to do with that.
Yeah, and it could tie into like their filtering and traffic rules and all of those kind of security and blocking policies.
Yeah, usually they put a little description, but there's nothing saying about it.
Yeah.
So,
well, the note says it's you need UniFi OS 3.2, so I bet they'll kind of go into that more. I don't know I think those are all still EA. I don't think 7. Or 3.2 is out for any of the devices yet.
I don't think it is. No.
Yeah.
No.
More to come.
If anyone's interested in all the little release notes, there's a link in the description and the show notes to the community post. Tons and tons of changes. They've done a massively good job. It's big when there's sections for it.
Yeah. So, if you have to keep scrolling,
yeah. Yeah. So the updates at the moment, it's in release candidate. Should be out, I'd imagine, probably Friday, actually, or the Friday after. It's usually a week. It's usually a week or two between them. So we shall see.
Yeah.
The next bit of news, it was that you sent this today. So today is Tuesday, 29th of August. And there's two releases today. We've got a new website, a new mini site within the UniFi website, and there's also a new UID announcement. Do you want to talk about the UID announcement? Because I haven't actually had a chance to look at this properly yet.
Yeah, no worries. I just noticed it today when I was digging up stuff for the show notes. And it was something they just posted today. There's not really many details. They just say they're kind of rethinking what UID, or I guess the proper term is UniFi Identity. I still think of it as UID because that was what they always used to call it. But UniFi Identity, they're launching a lightweight, unlimited user subscription free option. So they already have a free tier, but I think the news here is that it won't have a user cap on that free plan.
Right.
So it's probably going to have like a feature cap, is my guess there. So they're probably just going to have a slimmer version of UID that, you could have for hundreds or thousands of employees, but it'll only do XYZ. And it's definitely going to be tying into, I would assume, their Magic site-to-site VPN or their remote access VPN, possibly even to UniFi Access. Those are the details that they'll probably release later. They're just saying, hey, just heads up, we're going to be making an announcement soon about that.
Yeah, because it specifically says some of your favorite features. So,
right,
including phone-based door access.
Yes, some, not all.
I'd imagine probably it will have some sort of directory, because at the moment they have got two plans. They've got 5-user plan, which is free, and then they've got 1,000 users for $4.50 per user per month. And then there's certain things between them, like the amount of logging it can do, the amount of video storage it does. So the Access stores video within UID. There's like the UID app. I'd imagine they'll get rid of certain things that aren't necessary, but the phone integration seems quite an important part of it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. It's quite good that they're at least responding to people's criticism, because I noticed that I think Cody made a video the other day about that they got rid of the free plan, had just mysteriously changed overnight, and got rid of some features or amount of users you can add. So that's good.
Yeah, and I haven't I signed up for a UID plan when they were offering like free early access signups, and I just kind of played around with it a little bit. I haven't really done anything with it. Have you?
Yeah, so when I used to work at the WISP, right before I left, about 6 months before I left, we did the Wi-Fi integration. It was all free because I guess it was in beta, I'm not sure, but it worked pretty well. We used Office 365 for our like internal company management thing, and that had an API connected to UID, and then people can use the little app on their computer and then sign in with their Microsoft account, and that worked pretty well actually. It didn't work on people's phones, which wasn't exactly necessary, but we never got around to testing the VPN feature. But as far as I remember, the Wi-Fi functionality worked really well.
Yeah.
There's an app on Mac OS, there's an app on Windows, and then there's 1 or 2 people that had Linux. They could use that as well. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like at least UID Wi-Fi would be replacing like an 802.1x, put in your username and password kind of network. So could be interesting.
So the argument we made for it was the fact that if someone leaves, you didn't have to go on through 15 different systems and delete everyone. You could just delete the Microsoft account, and everything tied to that, which was pretty much everything, you could just get wiped off. So
yeah,
quite good for that.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about changing a password when they leave. Because that's where I work now. That's what we do is we nuke their Active Directory account and they can't get on the network anymore. So
the next thing you sent me today as well was I think you must have noticed it from the website because it's in a drop down under like support. It's this large projects assistance, so UniFi at scale. It looks like consulting to me.
Yeah, that I didn't see an announcement about it. I just was poking around the website. So I don't know if someone published this page accidentally or this is just something that they're playing around with. I mean, really, there's not many details there. It just says considering UniFi at scale, request a meeting with large scale UniFi solution architects. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like consulting. It's like, hey, we have a big project. Can you help us pick the right equipment, design, configure, deploy? It doesn't really say what they do. They just have a form saying, describe your project and we'll get back to you. So maybe we'll have more details about this, or maybe it's just something they're playing around with. But yeah, definitely interesting for sure.
Yeah, I remember on the forums that people have asked this all the time, thinking that I'm spending X million pounds with UniFi, Ubiquiti, whatever. Can I speak to anyone to help us do it? And people just say no. But I guess they've probably realised that there are people that out there going to spending millions of dollars and pounds on equipment for different situations, maybe lots of different offices and things, and they probably want to tailor to that need. Otherwise, they might lose them to a Cisco or something. So if they can deal with the cost of running consultants, it's probably worth it, really.
That's like the blessing and curse of UniFi is you're kind of on your own for support and no licensing and all that. So yeah, you kind of get what you pay for there. It's curious that they didn't do this before. When I was looking at I was just kind of searching around for this, seeing if there was any other references or announcement about it. Back in the ubnt.com days, they had the same domain. They had experts.ubnt.com, and all that was just a list of consultants. And this was like 2018, 2019. That page appeared. They asked people if they want to be listed, and then it just kind of disappeared. And that's like, it seems like something they were just playing around with and weren't taking too seriously. So I'll be curious if this is an experiment or a kind of new direction.
Yeah, definitely. To see what they do. So just for reference, they ask you if you're a residential business, I just don't know what other would be, but it says, do you install networking, cameras, door access, VoIP? Have you installed anything before? Have you installed UniFi before? Like, what brands do you use? How many devices do you want? And then ongoing projects or large projects. So I guess they'll probably evaluate and they might call you back. So
yeah, I mean, it almost seems like it's like a survey in disguise. No details about pricing or what they're offering. It's just like, hey, tell us what you're trying to do. I'm almost tempted to fill out the survey there and see what happens when that you put that form in.
So we've got some UISP news. So UISP Fiber news actually. I've got some more OLTs they're called. So these are designed to feed fiber to residential areas or business areas. So typical ISPs that do fiber, they use OLTs to get everyone routed, and these new ones are sort of a continuation from the original OLTs, which were a maximum of 1 gig. And these integrate what's called XGS PON, which is up to 10 gigabit per second, I think. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you have more experience with the passive optical network PON kind of devices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like it's just a pretty straightforward, hey, it used to be 1 gig. Now you have a 2.5 and a 10 gig option. And then I think there's increased limits for how many clients you can have and all that. But seems like a pretty straightforward upgrade, kind of a add pro, add speed, and charge more kind of device.
Yeah. So the original ORT was called UFiber, and they had a ORT 8-port and a 4-port, and the 8-port was £2,000, well, about €2,000 probably. Sorry, $2,000 probably. And this new one's $3,500 roughly for 2,000 subscribers versus 1,024 subscribers. As you mentioned, you can have practically double, well, 10 times the speed on that. But yeah, it's an interesting market because there's not many people doing it. There's Nokia, which make ORTs. There's a company called Dasan, which make ORTs, and there's also a couple of others. But it's not, and also Huawei as well. But yeah, it's a very small niche market, and from what I remember, the prices of these ORTs is very competitive. Obviously, there's no licensing, which other companies love to charge licenses. It's all managed through UISP. There's notifications, alerts, and the CPE devices, the things that go into customers' houses, are again really quite feature rich. You've got there's a 10 gig option as well, and then there's also built-in Wi-Fi form as well. And one thing I really like they make is transceivers. So if you deliver fiber to someone's house and they already have a router that has SFP on it, you can essentially just give them an SFP module and say, here you go. And that little device has all the capability to be managed by UISP back in the NOC. So it's lovely that they do that, because there are customers that don't really want a box. They just want to fiber straight into their router. So
yeah, I didn't realize that the transceiver tied into UISP like that. That's cool. And yeah, I don't really know too much about these devices. I know about the previous UFiber, especially the CPE. I know a lot of WISP, once they kind of run out of line of sight or kind of need to extend their network to a wired network and kind of build capacity that way. This is a great way to do it. And I think a lot of people don't know about these products or know, it's kind of, it is definitely like a niche, but it has its place, and it's good they're continuing to build out and offer bigger numbers.
Yeah, I find that. So when I first started looking at Ubiquiti back in 2015, it was very much an ISP company first, and Wi-Fi was very much a new thing for them. And as Ubiquiti's pushed itself into the mainstream and got more popular, their original product lines like AirMax and this fiber optic stuff has just been pushed to the side a little bit. But as you said, it's good that they're still doing it, because it's where they come from, especially with their fiber. That's sort of their original stuff. But yeah, it's good that they're not forgetting what they've done previously. And
hey,
there's a market for it.
EdgeMax is still alive, man. They have Hotfix 7 just came out recently, so they're we're never going to get 2.1. It's just going to be 2.0.9 Hotfix 18, and it'll still be going.
I think the problem with EdgeMax is that everyone who knew how it operates has left.
Yeah. Well, I think that happened a while ago. I've only heard kind of vague rumblings of like what happened behind the scene, but yeah, I think those engineers left, a long time ago, and they're just kind of trying to keep the lights on at this point.
Yeah. Without knowing too much, I reckon what's happened is that the Edge OS code base is so complicated that there's people there that know how to change enough, but necessarily not enough to sort of rebuild it.
Right.
And I imagine the code base on it is quite out of date and complex for this stage.
Right.
Not very efficient. So.
Well, yeah, it's running on two architectures. I think it's Cavium and then MIPS. I might be misspeaking here, but yeah, it's a weird architecture. It's like a weird fork of, I think it's Viata or ViOS. So it's
I think so.
It's probably like the developers look at that code and they go, I don't want to touch it. So can't blame them. But I wish that's why the UISP devices would be developed and released a little bit quicker. But
yeah, hopefully at some stage that flushes out, so it should be good. I forgot this happened. I just got so used to it already. The new forum design. I can't remember when this happened. It's been a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was this summer. I don't know if it was July or August, a couple weeks ago. Because I think it was something that they were testing for a while. Because I think I saw it, and then the next day it wasn't. It was back to the old design.
Oh, right.
I saw it kind of flip back and forth. But it seems like full time now. They've redesigned the community, and largely, I mean, it seems better. There is still like some weirdness to, like for me when I'm trying to find a specific release, it's not always clear. Like I wish there was an easy way to just see a list of every single unified network application release. So it's like, Sometimes you want to go to community and hit the timeline. Sometimes that's better. Sometimes UI.com/download and hit the past releases. But in general, like I like the new design definitely better than what was there before. And hopefully they keep tweaking.
Yeah, I just noticed that it doesn't seem quite categorized correctly, because if you go to general, let's go releases, then general network, there's stuff in there for UniFi Connect, which shouldn't be there. So some things aren't categorized correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like when you click on one of the tabs, like you have the main timeline releases along the top. When you click on one of those tabs, it'll come up with a blank screen until you select the category. So there's like, little things. But then once you're kind of in there and using it, it's mostly the same and you can kind of navigate around. But yeah, this was probably part of their website redesign, and this was kind of like the phase 2 part of it. So maybe it'll...
Yeah, it seems quicker as well. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it seems a lot quicker. And they put some useful links into their YouTube videos and tech specs. That new tech specs page is awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I've run into a few, especially like older, because I like to plunder through data sheets for comparison charts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've run into a few where it's like, they even say, tech specs for older generation products coming soon. So I've run into the older generation products not being there, but especially for anything current, it's miles away better than what they had before.
Oh yeah,
it's nice.
Well, yeah, when they changed it from whatever the store was to what it is now, they removed, so that getting pictures of devices were quite hard. They're either in such low res or they're not PNGs. You have to convert them yourself. In here, there's a PNG transparent image for every single thing, and for making thumbnails and images for blog posts, that's so useful.
I was gonna say,
one place to go now to get images.
We're the only two people who care about that, but we do care. And those images are very nice, because it's tough on the store page. And yeah, it's just in general, just kind of having a central place to go view these things. I personally wish it was easier to compare product A versus product B. Which is kind of why I spend all those time making spreadsheets and all that. But in general, like just having this as a resource and being able to just go there and I don't remember this specific thing about this specific product. You just go there, find it. Very nice. And yeah, in general, I like a lot of the changes they made with the website. It seems like they're putting a lot of work into it.
Oh yeah, must be a lot of man hours, because getting all these images made, animations made, and all the videos and stuff may take someone ages, but at least someone's doing it.
I still miss the old installation guides. That's like one thing that their installation guides now are just the most simple, like, okay, you take a screwdriver but it doesn't really like tell you anything besides that. But yeah, maybe that's phase 3. They'll fix that.
Yeah. Well, I'll look at these ads next. I like these. I didn't recognize the guy from the videos, but someone I've seen online recognized the actor from these new ads they're doing. They've had quite a lot of views already, like 1 million views on this one you linked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it definitely,
cool.
For me, they have a very strong, like, Apple's ad campaign 15 years ago. It was like mid 2000s, back when like Windows Vista was big. They had those Mac versus PC ads. It definitely kind of rings like that, where it's, just this guy being Ubiquiti, and then the two kind of business dudes, the famous actors that I'm blanking on their names too. But yeah, it's kind of funny to see like a little bit of humor, and then like they're kind of like making fun of other companies that have license fees and all that. So yeah, it's definitely like a new direction for their advertising, and seems like almost everyone is a fan of it. So.
Yeah, it's great. They've got 3 episodes out so far. One touches on this new site Magic VPN, which we'll get to in a minute. A good one, again, taking a leaf from Apple's book, is talking about privacy with UniFi Protect, because it's all on-prem. And then they're talking about, I think in that video, they make fun of people charging license fees for hardware.
Yeah.
And saying, well, you can just have the hardware, it's whatever. So
a very not subtle dig at like probably Cisco Meraki, if not, some other vendors that, there's a bunch out there that are in the same kind of budget and space that do charge license fees. So yeah, I mean, good for them for getting some attention and making those kind of advantages clear, because we both know these things, but a lot of people don't.
Oh yeah, and they might look at it and think, oh, I can get. They might think, oh, what do the cameras cost a bit more than consumer stuff? Oh, it's because it's all on-prem. It's because there's no cloud for it. So
Right.
yeah, it's good. Last thing we're going to get to is this new Site Magic VPN feature, which it's got some downsides to it, but we'll talk about what it does first. This reminded me of the what do they call it from the UXG days, like site-to-site VPN, like auto site-to-site VPN. I think that's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, so they've had so many different options for VPNs over the years. Like the newer ones are what WireGuard
Wired,
official
yeah,
WireGuard support was new, and Teleport
yeah.
that used to be, I think, an Amplify feature. Then they kind of added it to UniFi. So I think
Mm,
Teleport's been a few
that's
things,
right.
but it's their kind of like very simple remote access VPN. And then be underneath that and even older was IPsec and OpenVPN, which I
And
think added a
L2TP
few.
as well.
Yeah, and L2TP, that's the old remote access. So they've had so many, and it's nice that they're kind of continuing to add another one.
Mm.
But you
So
mentioned
this, in
downsides.
theory,
Have you used this, or what's the downsides that
so
you've heard of?
at the moment it only works on UniFi OS consoles. It doesn't work on self-hosted. Um,
Mm.
there isn't doesn't look like there's any plans for them to do it. So they said it needs a UniFi gateway console, which is a UXG Pro or any UDM SE or UDM Pro, and then it requires they call the UniFi cloud server they make a UniFi OS console. Still, it goes under that like the cloud console goes under that brand of a UniFi OS console. So they're saying you need either a Cloud Key, a Cloud Key Enterprise, or Cloud Console running UniFi Network 7.4. So at the moment, it doesn't work with any self-hosted or anything like that. So
Yeah, and this is kind of the other shoe dropping when they announced the cloud console. I mean, it was curious to me that there wasn't really any quote unquote unique features. Like it was just a server in the cloud, and there's no features that came along with that. So I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time that they've said, self-hosted is kind of left in the cold.
yeah,
And it does
I think
make
it
sense.
is.
It does make sense that you need a console or something because to have a site-to-site VPN, you need traditionally you would need two public IPs, two firewalls, and then make the connection between them. But yeah, I'm sure that maybe they just don't want to put in the development time to support like a UXG on a self-hosted server. But
Yeah,
that's why all those other options are there. I mean, they didn't take away WireGuard and
no.
Teleport and all that, but to get the magic, you need to buy. Yeah.
And I think this must use something like WireGuard on the base level because it says as long as one gateway has a public IP, even gateways behind NAT or on 5G, 4G service can participate. So I think that's how WireGuard runs. I think you can make it link between public IPs and carrier grade NAT situations. So it must use something like that underneath.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do kind of the same thing with I forget the exact specifics, but OpenVPN and IPsec kind of work similar. And yeah, as long as you have one with a public IP, and then the far end can reach out to that known address. And even if it's not a static address, like a lot of times you could just make a host name, like a dynamic DNS host name, and use
Mm.
that to point to. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that they're making this easy to use, and it's just site to site, correct? Like this isn't remote access.
No, it's just site to site, but there's a screenshot at the bottom of this release post that you can specify easily without logging in all the subnets you want to share.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can in this screenshot, which I'll put on screen, there's three different sites linked together, and then you can say share this subnet from each site, which yeah should make things a lot easier. So as soon as you click new site magic group, it detects which devices you've got on your account that can do it, and then you just link them together, which is cool. So
Yeah, and that because I've been through the pain of manually configuring those kind of setups, and this seems like I haven't tried it out, but it's nice that this option's available if people just want kind of a point and click kind of setup. And it seems like kind of a natural extension of what they've been doing with like firewall rules becoming what is it, traffic rules, where it's just like I don't know, more in the GUI, more in plain text. You don't have to go like configure
yeah,
manually nitty gritty details. Like it seems like they're they're spending a lot of engineering effort in those kind of like automatic, or they brand it as magic. But yeah, those kind of things that kind of take away the complexity, and all you need to do is say, this is my desired result. I want these three networks to be able to, join together on the site-to-site VPN. You just click the checkbox and you're done. Of course, the details matter there a lot, and how reliable, and asterisks apply like always. But definitely good for them to keep pushing in that area.
Yeah, definitely. That's all the Ubiquiti news we've got this month. There's some stuff you've been working on. So you've been working on something for your own site. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, maybe I did Wi-Fi settings explain post. It started on Reddit, just because I personally was frustrated. Like, I don't understand what this setting does. So I kind of researched those things and kind of build it out and just said, hey, XYZ, this is what it stands for. This is what it does. And yeah, I've updated that. I did one big update last year, and I just did another big update for 7.5. So that was the biggest, most recent post I've had. Still plugging away on comparison charts and a few things, but I've been busy with moving. So hopefully, now and leading into the fall, I'll have more time for new stuff.
Yeah. Well, I must say, whenever I Google something I'm not too sure about UniFi, your website comes up all the time.
That happens to me. It's really frustrating because I'm like, I know that's either out of date or not what I'm looking for, and it'll link me to my page, and I'm like, no, that's not it.
Yeah, there's been the times when I've had to think, what does it exactly mean? Because I've just forgotten, because you just forget stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's what it means. And then so it's a really useful resource that you're doing. And then the fact that it's updated for 7.5 is amazing. I have to have a look through that later today. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm just like the release notes. I'm scrolling. So.
Oh god, and yeah, that's the other thing about the one for 7.5. I really struggled with trying to. I wanted it to be shorter, and it ended up being longer. So I think it's nearly 6,000 words at this point. I added a whole section about manual AP control. So yeah, it's long-winded. That's why there's the table of contents and the links. Control F is your friend. Just search around. Yeah, I wish it wasn't so long, but
yeah. No, it's great. It's awesome. It's good that someone's going really, really in depth, because for some reason the people who make the stuff haven't done it for us. So
yeah, hey, they just click.
Use a guide for it.
They have the tooltips. You can get a couple words about it. So
yeah, we need the Evan explanation.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone appreciates what you do, so it's really good. I think that's all we got for this month of UI Chat. As always, you can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes, and of course, check out those chapters, complete with images, to make your listening experience much more enjoyable. We also have an ad-free premium version of this show available on Apple Podcasts that will help support this episode and future podcasts from the interface. Thank you for joining me, Evan, on this episode of the UI Chat. Where can people find you online if they want to find out more about what you make and do?
EvanMcCann.net or McCanntech. Just search me and you'll find me.
Lovely. Links will be in the show notes and the description. Thank you for listening to this episode of UI Chat Podcast. If you like what we do, follow the show on all the podcast platforms and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a rating. This helps other people find this show. Thanks for listening and watching this podcast, and we'll see you again next time.
See you.